BTS members who still treat staff like family. Number 2 is So Sincere. What really happens when the roaring stadium lights finally go dark? We all see BTS as untouchable global superstars, but how do these guys actually treat the exhausted staff working tirelessly behind the scenes? Does all that insane fame and unbelievable wealth change who they truly are, or are they still the exact same humble kids from day one? Get ready to dive deep into the raw, unspoken reality of the cutthroat K-pop world. Which member secretly drops thousands on gifts for the crew? Who actually stays behind to clean up the dirty trash after a grueling shoot? Brace yourself, because the pure, tear-jerking sincerity from the member at number 2 is going to completely melt your heart and leave you entirely speechless. Number 7. RM. The silent guardian behind the camera, simply breathtaking. When you think of the ultimate leader in the music industry today, the name Kim Namjoon, globally known as RM, instantly echoes through the halls of history. But what truly happens when the cameras stop rolling and the deafening screams of millions of fans fade into the silent, exhausting nights of endless production? Let's be real for a second. Imagine carrying the unbearable weight of the world's biggest boy band on your shoulders, constantly dealing with intense international media, navigating complex language barriers on live television, and keeping 6 other superstars grounded while producing chart-topping hits. You would genuinely think that someone in this unimaginably high-pressure, stressful position would demand the utmost pampering and VIP treatment from the crew, right? Well, prepare to have your expectations completely shattered into a million pieces, because RM is the exact opposite of a demanding, out-of-touch diva. In the unforgiving, brutally hierarchical world of South Korean entertainment, a deeply traditional society where staff members are often unfortunately treated as invisible, replaceable gears in a massive corporate machine, Namjoon deliberately shatters those cold, rigid boundaries to treat every single crew member with a level of profound, raw respect that leaves industry veterans absolutely speechless. From the highest-ranking executive director to the newest, most exhausted intern nervously holding a heavy boom mic for 14 hours straight, RM sees them all as equals. Have you ever wondered why staff members who work with BTS just once are always desperately fighting to work with them again? It is exactly because of breathtaking moments like during their grueling, freezing outdoor music video shoots. Picture this. The temperature drops below freezing, the wind is howling, and everyone is shivering to the bone. While most A-list celebrities would instantly rush back to their heated, luxurious VIP vans, the second the director yells "cut," RM is famously known to stay out in the bitter cold, constantly checking on the camera operators and lighting technicians. He personally asks them if they are okay, ensuring they are handed hot packs and warm drinks before he even dares to take one for himself. There is a deeply moving, behind-the-scenes story from a former stylist assistant who had nervously just joined the team, terrified of making a single mistake around such a colossal, intimidating megastar. During a chaotic, lightning-fast wardrobe change before a massive stadium concert, she accidentally dropped a piece of highly expensive jewelry and literally froze in absolute panic, fully expecting to be brutally yelled at or fired on the spot. Instead of losing his temper, Namjoon simply smiled warmly, bent his tall frame down to help her pick it up, looked her in the eyes, and gently told her to breathe because we are all just human beings doing our best. Don't worry about it. Can you even imagine a multi-millionaire, Grammy-nominated artist doing that for an entry-level, minimum wage assistant? It doesn't stop there, guys. Flight attendants, hotel staff, and airport security frequently share anonymous stories on Korean forums about how RM is always the one who makes sure to look them dead in the eye, say a warm, sincere thank you, and give a deep, traditional 90-degree bow despite being surrounded by terrifying, flashing mobs of paparazzi and screaming fans. This definitively proves that his legendary manners are absolutely not a fake act put on for the cameras, but a deeply ingrained, beautiful part of his soul. He actively makes an effort to remember the names of the managers' families. He asks about the well-being of the makeup artists' children, and he constantly uses his own personal bank account to buy premium coffee, massive food trucks, and expensive catered meals for the entire massive production crew. He completely refuses to let the company pay for it because he wants it to be a personal, intimate gift of gratitude from him directly to the people who literally build the physical stages he shines on. This isn't just about being basically polite. It is a profound philosophical choice by a man who reads extensively about human empathy, art, and sociology, actively applying those deep, intellectual lessons to his everyday life to ensure that the invisible heroes behind the magical illusion of BTS are never, ever forgotten or marginalized. In an industry notorious for its brutal burnout rate, toxic work environments, and severe mental health struggles behind closed doors, Kim Namjoon stands out as a glowing, unwavering beacon of genuine humanity. He is a leader who doesn't just lead his 6 bandmates, but leads an entire, massive, floating city of crew members with a father-like warmth and brotherly protection that makes grown adults genuinely weep when their contracts end and they have to leave his team. So, if the incredibly intellectual, insanely powerful leader of the group is this incredibly kind and remarkably down-to-earth, it begs the ultimate, thrilling question. What on earth could the other members possibly be doing behind the scenes to surpass this insane level of sincerity? And just how intensely emotional will the rest of this countdown get? Keep your eyes glued right here. Don't you dare blink or scroll away, because if you thought RM's heart was pure gold, the upcoming members, especially that absolutely tear-jerking, mind-blowing revelation waiting for you at number 2 will completely redefine everything you thought you knew about fame, humility, and the true unspoken meaning of family. Number 6, J-Hope, the radiant sunshine who secretly pays for the crew's midnight feasts, pure gold. When you hear the name Young Ho Sok, universally adored across the globe as J-Hope, the very first image that instantly explodes into your mind is a blindingly bright smile, unparalleled dancing prowess, and an infectious, boundless energy that could literally power an entire metropolitan city. But what happens when that relentless, explosive energy meets the soul-crushing exhaustion of a 72-hour music video shoot? Let us peel back the glossy, perfectly edited layers of the K-pop industry for a moment and look deeply into the gritty, sweaty reality of the dance studio and the production sets. As the main dancer and the unofficial, highly intimidating performance leader of BTS, J-Hope is notoriously strict and fiercely perfectionistic when it comes to rehearsals. He has a terrifyingly sharp eye that can spot a single finger out of place among 7 members in a split second, earning him the terrifying but deeply respected nickname of Teacher Jung among the boys. Yet, the absolute second the music stops and the grueling, back-breaking practice is finally over, he instantly transforms from a fearsome drill sergeant into the most incredibly warm, nurturing, and generous human being you could ever possibly imagine interacting with. Imagine being a backup dancer or a junior staff member who has been frantically running around a massive freezing set for 18 hours straight on exactly 0 hours of sleep, your stomach aggressively growling, your feet physically aching to the bone, and your spirit entirely broken by the endless, unforgiving demands of the entertainment world. Just when you think you are about to literally collapse from pure exhaustion, suddenly, a massive, unexpected delivery of premium, mouth-watering food arrives. We are talking incredibly expensive Korean barbecue, towering stacks of gourmet pizzas, and endless rounds of high-end customized coffee, all completely paid for directly out of J-Hope's own personal pocket without a single word to the company executives. This is not a rare, one-off PR stunt carefully crafted by a management team. This is a highly documented, legendary weekly occurrence that has made him an absolute, undeniable angel in the eyes of the South Korean broadcasting crews. During the insanely stressful, high-budget filming of his legendary solo projects like Chicken Noodle Soup and later Arson, industry insiders, foreign backup dancers, and local crew members literally flooded social media with deeply emotional, tearful stories about how Hosok personally went up to every single extra, shook their hands with genuine warmth, and profusely thanked them for their hard work. He understands the brutal, soul-draining hustle better than anyone else in the room because he intimately and painfully remembers his own harsh, unforgiving roots as a struggling, hungry underground street dancer back in his hometown of Gwangju. long before the blinding fame, the millions of dollars, and the sold-out global stadiums. He knows exactly what it feels like to be treated like disposable background noise by arrogant industry elites, and he has made a silent, ironclad vow to his own soul that absolutely no one working under his roof or on his set will ever, under any circumstances, feel that profound sting of disrespect. There is a particularly legendary, heart-melting story shared by a former stage technician who recalled how, during a massively chaotic international stadium tour where tensions were running dangerously high and everyone was screaming at each other due to catastrophic technical failures, J-Hope was the only person who actively walked around the backstage chaos with a radiant, calming smile, gently handing out sweet snacks to the panicked crew members and softly telling them, "You are doing an amazing job. Please don't skip your meals. We will figure this out together." He is the living, breathing emotional anchor of the entire production team, constantly radiating a genuine healing warmth that acts as a magical, instant antidote to the incredibly toxic, high-pressure environment of the global music industry. It is absolutely mind-blowing and profoundly humbling to realize that a global icon, whose time is literally worth millions of dollars per minute, will actively choose to sacrifice his own precious, desperately needed break times just to make sure the lowest-ranking lighting assistant has had enough water to drink and a moment to sit down. His generosity isn't just about throwing his massive wealth at the staff. It is about extending a deeply personal, fiercely loyal hand of friendship, proving time and time again that the shiny, untouchable title of superstar has never, ever tainted his pure, incredibly humble heart. If you are already tearing up and getting chills thinking about this beautiful, radiant sunshine taking care of his crew like they are his own flesh and blood, you seriously need to brace yourself and take a deep breath, because the absolute madness of this emotional countdown is only just beginning to warm up. What kind of unbelievable, hidden sacrifices could the remaining members possibly be making behind closed doors that even the most dedicated paparazzi haven't discovered yet? How unimaginably deep does this beautiful, unseen brotherhood truly go when the stadium lights go black? Stick around, hold on to your seats, and get ready for the next jaw-dropping revelation, because the emotional roller coaster is about to plunge into even deeper, much more tear-jerking territory. Number 5. Jin, the worldwide handsome who shatters the ice, absolutely heartwarming. When the towering, impossibly flawless figure of Kim Seokjin, universally celebrated as worldwide handsome, steps into a crowded, hyper-stressful broadcasting station, you would instantly expect the incredibly rigid, historically strict Korean age hierarchy to command absolute, fearful respect from every single person in the room. But what actually unfolds behind the closed doors of the dressing rooms is a mind-blowing display of profound, selfless humility that completely defies every expectation of a global superstar. Let us take a deep, intense dive into the notoriously strict, high-pressure cultural dynamics of South Korean society, where being the eldest naturally grants you the absolute power to demand unconditional obedience and flawless service from younger staff members and junior crew. Jin could so easily sit back, cross his legs, and let everyone else wait on him hand and foot. Yet he actively chooses to completely obliterate that intimidating power dynamic every single day. Instead of acting like an untouchable, demanding king, Jin intentionally lowers his own status, constantly cracking his legendary, incredibly goofy dad jokes at the most chaotic, nerve-wracking moments just to make the exhausted, terrified staff burst into genuine laughter and forget their crushing anxiety. Can you imagine the immense, suffocating pressure a rookie makeup artist feels when holding a sharp eyeliner pencil just millimeters away from the billion-dollar face of the world's biggest boy band member? Knowing exactly how terrifying that must be, Jin purposefully acts extremely silly, making dramatic, exaggerated faces and playfully teasing himself to completely melt away their nervous tension, proving that his emotional intelligence is just as staggering as his vocal range. The legendary stories of his behind-the-scenes generosity are absolutely whispered like modern fairy tales among industry insiders. For instance, there is the incredibly touching, widely documented fact that whenever he visits his uncle's massive strawberry farm during his extremely rare, highly coveted days off, he doesn't just bring back a small basket for himself, but literally hauls massive, heavy boxes of premium, freshly picked strawberries to personally hand-deliver to the broadcasting staff, managers, and backup dancers, ensuring that every single person gets a taste of his sincere gratitude. But wait, it gets even more incredibly emotional. During massive holiday seasons like Chuseok or Lunar New Year, when deeply overworked staff members are tragically forced to spend the holidays away from their own families just to manage BTS's chaotic, non-stop global schedules, Jin is famously known to secretly prepare thick, hidden envelopes of cash out of his own personal bank account, quietly slipping them to the crew as Sebe Don, traditional New Year's allowance with a warm, comforting pat on the back, essentially becoming a surrogate older brother to the people who sacrifice their lives for the group's success. He frequently uses his highly exclusive black credit card to pay for insanely expensive, massive company dinners, famously known as Hweshik, for dozens of staff members without a single moment of hesitation, loudly declaring that since he is the eldest, it is his absolute duty and privilege to feed his family. There is one particularly heart-wrenching, anonymous testimony from a former junior producer who revealed that during a highly tense commercial shoot where a terrifying director was viciously screaming at the lower-level staff for a minor lighting mistake, Jin deliberately stepped in, playfully interrupted the director with a charming, disarming joke, and skillfully redirected the anger away from the terrified crew, effectively using his massive superstar shield to protect the vulnerable workers who had no voice to defend themselves. This is not just basic politeness. This is a deeply calculated, profoundly empathetic strategy by a man who actively sacrifices his own dignified, cool image to ensure that the grueling, often toxic environment of the entertainment industry feels like a warm, safe sanctuary for everyone involved. He treats the imposing giant bodyguards not as robotic meat shields, but as genuine drinking buddies, asking them about their personal lives and ensuring they get proper rest when the flashing cameras finally disappear. To realize that the eldest member, the visual center who could easily demand the world on a silver platter, is instead the one constantly bending down to lift everyone else up, is enough to make any grown adult burst into tears of pure admiration. If the eldest young of the group is this incredibly protective, endlessly generous, and devastatingly warm-hearted, it completely blows the mind to think about what the remaining members are secretly doing in the shadows to show their love for the crew. Are you feeling the intense, emotional chills running down your spine yet? Because you absolutely need to hold your breath and brace your heart for what is coming next. The stories are only getting deeper, more fiercely personal, and increasingly unbelievable as we edge closer to that ultimate, tear-inducing revelation at number 2 that will change your perspective on celebrity life forever. Number 4. Suga, the cold genius with the secretly warm heart. Absolutely jaw-dropping. When the name Min Yoongi, universally revered as the razor-sharp, brutally honest rapper Suga, or the fiercely intense, chart-topping solo artist August D, is mentioned, the immediate image that flashes before the eyes of the public is a notoriously blunt, introverted musical genius who absolutely does not tolerate any nonsense, radiating an incredibly intimidating aura that makes even veteran interviewers nervous. But what happens when you completely strip away the aggressive hip-hop persona and look deeply into the silent, untelevised moments shared with his closest production crew? Welcome to the beautiful, mind-blowing reality of K-pop's ultimate tsundere, a Japanese term for someone who appears extremely cold and distant on the outside, but is secretly bursting with an overwhelming, almost aggressive amount of love and fierce loyalty on the inside. Let's be completely brutally honest here. In an industry that constantly demands fake smiles, forced enthusiasm, and highly manufactured PR interactions, Yoongi's authentic, quiet demeanor is often deeply misunderstood by the general public as aloofness or absolute arrogance, but the exhausted staff members who actually work with him in the suffocatingly dark, windowless walls of his legendary Genius Lab studio tell a drastically different, remarkably tear-jerking story that will leave you utterly speechless. You have to profoundly understand exactly where this man came from to truly grasp why he treats his crew the way he does. Long before the Grammy nominations, the diplomatic passports, and the billions of global streams, Yoongi was a desperately poor, starving underground producer in Daegu who had to painfully choose between taking the bus home or eating a cheap bowl of noodles, eventually taking on a brutal, life-threatening part-time job as a delivery boy where a horrific motorcycle accident shattered his shoulder, leaving him in agonizing pain while he silently swept the dirty floors of recording studios just to get a tiny chance to touch a MIDI keyboard. Because he intimately, painfully knows the absolute terror of financial instability and the crushing, humiliating feeling of being treated like a worthless nobody by arrogant industry elites, he has built an ironclad, unbreakable personal philosophy to never, ever let anyone in his presence feel that same horrific sting of invisible insignificance. The behind-the-scenes stories of his silent generosity are enough to make the toughest critics violently weep. There are countless documented, verified instances where exhausted camera directors and junior audio engineers, practically collapsing from a severe lack of sleep after a brutal 48-hour mixing session, would suddenly find massive steaming boxes of insanely expensive, premium Hanwoo Korean beef or highly sought-after sashimi platters quietly placed on their messy desks. Yoongi never, ever makes a massive theatrical scene about it. He doesn't loudly announce his good deeds or demand praise from the room like typical egotistical celebrities do. He just casually mutters, "I accidentally bought too much. Just eat it so it doesn't go to waste," while aggressively avoiding eye contact, completely hiding the fact that he deliberately ordered the most expensive items on the menu, specifically to nourish the tired crew out of his own massive bank account. Can you even begin to fathom the staggering emotional intelligence of a multi-millionaire global icon actively trying to hide his massive acts of charity just to protect the pride and dignity of the working-class staff receiving them? There is an incredibly touching, legendary piece of insider information regarding his interactions with the massive, intimidating security teams that constantly surround BTS at chaotic, terrifyingly crowded international airports. While most A-list superstars treat their bodyguards as invisible, robotic meat shields, fully expecting them to carry heavy luggage and push through violently obsessive mobs of fans without a single word of thanks, Yoongi famously insists on carrying his own heavy duffel bags and musical equipment whenever physically possible, actively walking shoulder to shoulder with his security detail like a loyal brother marching into an intense battle, and quietly asking them if they have managed to drink any water or eat a proper meal during the sheer, terrifying madness of the crowd surges. He absolutely does not see them as disposable, hired muscle. He sees them as fellow hardworking men desperately trying to put food on the table for their families, treating them with a profound, quiet respect that commands absolute, unquestioning loyalty from everyone who works on his security team. Furthermore, former big hit trainees, stylists, and backup dancers have emotionally confessed on Korean forums that during brutal, freezing outdoor music video shoots where the wind chill is literally bone-crushing, Yoongi is always the one who silently scans the crowd to notice who is shivering the most, walking away without saying a single word, only to return minutes later to gruffly toss a burning hot pack or a thick, heavily insulated winter jacket directly into their freezing hands before immediately walking away again to avoid any emotional thanks. This incredible man speaks entirely through his profound, impactful actions, completely bypassing the superficial, fake pleasantries of the entertainment world to deliver raw, unfiltered, deeply protective love to the people sweating behind the massive cameras. His heart is literally a massive hidden ocean of empathy, fiercely protected by a stoic, cool exterior, making every single act of his kindness feel a million times more impactful and staggeringly genuine to the lucky staff members who get to experience it firsthand. If the supposedly coldest, most intimidating member of the group is secretly running around dropping thousands of dollars on premium food for the crew and silently protecting their dignity with such fierce, breathtaking loyalty, your brain is probably short-circuiting right now, trying to desperately imagine what the remaining members could possibly be doing behind closed doors. Are you feeling that intense, overwhelming rush of raw emotion building up in your chest right now? Just wait. because we are getting dangerously close to the very top of this legendary list, and the mind-boggling, tear-inducing secrets waiting for you, especially that earth-shattering, incredibly raw reality check coming up at number 2, are guaranteed to completely break your heart in the absolute most beautiful way possible, so do not even think about looking away. Number 3, Jimin, the angelic fairy who remembers every single detail. Pure magic. When the name Park Jimin, globally adored as the mesmerizing lead vocalist and incredibly breathtaking main dancer of BTS, is mentioned in any conversation, the immediate, overwhelming image that instantly floods your mind is an untouchable, godlike performer who captivates millions with his fiercely intense charisma, deeply seductive stage presence, and gravity-defying contemporary dance moves. But what truly happens when the deafening roar of the massive stadium crowd finally dies down and the heavy, suffocating stage makeup is wiped away? Let us peel back the blindingly shiny, heavily manufactured veil of the notoriously ruthless K-pop industry and take a profound, tear-jerking look into the raw, unspoken reality of a man whom veteran broadcasting staff and battle-hardened industry insiders universally revere as the literal, living angel of the South Korean entertainment world. In a brutally fast-paced, highly toxic corporate environment where mega celebrities are actively taught to view their massive entourages as invisible, disposable tools, designed merely to serve their massive egos, Jimin intentionally and beautifully completely obliterates those cold, hierarchical boundaries with a weapon far more powerful than his staggering wealth or unimaginable fame. Pure, unadulterated, radical empathy that leaves everyone who interacts with him completely speechless. You have to deeply understand the intense, paralyzing pressure of his own crippling perfectionism to truly grasp why he is so incredibly tender with others. Jimin is famously known as the member who will brutally punish himself for a single, microscopic voice crack during a 3-hour live concert, crying alone in the dark dressing rooms out of pure frustration. Yet, paradoxically, he is the very first person to completely forgive, fiercely protect, and warmly comfort any staff member who makes a colossal, expensive mistake on set. Imagine being a terrified rookie stylist or a deeply exhausted camera assistant who just ruined a highly crucial million-dollar shot. While most arrogant A-list directors or divas would absolutely scream your head off and fire you on the spot, Jimin is legendary for immediately rushing over with his beautifully warm, crescent moon eye smile, gently placing his hands on your violently shaking shoulders, and softly telling you that it is completely okay, actively taking the blame upon himself to shield you from the management's vicious wrath. But his mind-blowing sincerity does not just stop at crisis management. It is embedded deeply in the incredibly meticulous, breathtakingly thoughtful way he memorizes the tiniest, most obscure details about the people working behind the scenes. There are incredibly famous, heavily documented stories circulating on Korean forums from former backup dancers and flight attendants who revealed that Jimin does not just blindly hand out expensive luxury gifts. He actually listens intensely during casual, passing conversations, remembering if a specific makeup artist mentioned her mother being sick months ago, or if a tired security guard subtly complained about his back hurting, only to quietly surprise them weeks later with highly personalized, incredibly thoughtful gifts like premium herbal supplements or specialized heating pads, all secretly paid for from his own personal bank account without a single camera around to capture the deed. Furthermore, he is historically famous among broadcasting station janitors and cleaning crews, the most incredibly overworked, underappreciated, and invisible workers in the entire industry hierarchy, because unlike 99% of idol groups who leave their waiting rooms looking like chaotic, trash-filled disaster zones, Jimin will literally stay behind after a grueling 14-hour music show recording, completely exhausted and practically limping from severe muscle pain, just to personally gather all the empty water bottles, fold the discarded towels, and meticulously wipe down the tables so that the elderly cleaning staff do not have to break their backs doing extra labor. He constantly delivers his legendary, incredibly deep 90-degree bows to every single person he locks eyes with, from the highest-ranking executive producer to the youngest, most nervous intern fetching coffee. actively proving that his stunning, world-class manners are not some fake, heavily coached PR illusion, but a deeply ingrained, beautiful core of his fundamentally pure soul. To realize that a globally worshipped icon, a man who literally has the entire world resting in the palm of his beautifully delicate hands, goes out of his way to make the most invisible, lowest-ranking workers feel seen, deeply respected, and fiercely loved is enough to make any grown adult violently burst into tears of sheer awe and admiration. He doesn't just treat the staff like basic employees. He treats them like desperately cherished family members, acting as a profound, glowing beacon of genuine human warmth in an industry that is so often cold, calculating, and ruthlessly unforgiving. If the angelic fairy of the group is out here meticulously memorizing the medical histories of the staff's family members and secretly cleaning up dirty waiting rooms while fighting through his own physical exhaustion, your brain must be absolutely exploding right now, trying to desperately guess what insane, mind-boggling level of sincerity is waiting for you next. Are you genuinely prepared for the ultimate emotional devastation? Because we are finally about to cross the threshold into the most fiercely protected, tear-inducing, and completely unimaginable reality check of this entire list. The breathtaking revelation waiting patiently at number 2 is guaranteed to permanently change the way you view the true cost of fame. So take a deep breath, hold back your tears, and absolutely do not look away. Number 2. V. The global icon who weeps for the unseen heroes, absolutely heart-wrenching. When the name Kim Taehyung, globally worshipped as V, echoes across the internet, the immediate, overwhelming image that instantly floods the minds of millions is an impossibly gorgeous, high-fashion muse with a mesmerizing, deep baritone voice and a literally flawless, universally acclaimed, world's most handsome face that looks like it was meticulously sculpted by Renaissance masters. You look at him draped in head-to-toe luxury brands, effortlessly commanding the attention of the entire world with a single, piercing gaze, and you would naturally assume that this man lives in a completely untouchable, highly exclusive bubble, miles above the sweaty, exhausting reality of the working-class crew members. But prepare to have your entire perception of celebrity culture completely shattered into a million irreversible pieces, because the man hiding behind the intimidatingly chic, high-fashion persona is arguably the most deeply sensitive, profoundly empathetic, and fiercely grounded human being to ever step foot in the notoriously cutthroat South Korean entertainment industry. To truly comprehend the absolute madness of Taehyung's pure, unadulterated sincerity, you have to look past the blinding camera flashes and stare directly into the quiet, unrecorded moments where he actively and deliberately dismantles the massive, suffocating walls of his own global superstardom just to deeply connect with the invisible heroes of the production set. In an industry where A-list celebrities are strictly trained to maintain a rigid, professional distance from their massive entourages, V completely refuses to treat his staff as mere employees, instead actively pulling them into his deeply personal, fiercely protected inner circle with an emotional intensity that leaves veteran directors absolutely speechless. There is a legendary, profoundly tear-jerking story that circulates heavily among elite broadcasting insiders regarding a highly chaotic, brutally stressful commercial shoot where a junior lighting assistant, completely overwhelmed by the terrifying pressure and on the verge of a massive panic attack, was hiding in a dark corner of the set. While every other high-ranking executive completely ignored her, Taehyung deliberately stopped the entire multi-million-dollar production, walked right past the frantic producers, sat down directly on the dirty, freezing floor next to the terrified assistant, and quietly talked to her about random, comforting things like video games and his beloved pet dog Yeontan until her breathing finally steadied and she could smile again. Can you even begin to fathom the staggering, mind-boggling emotional intelligence required for a global icon whose every single second is literally worth thousands of dollars? To completely halt a massive production schedule just to protect the fragile mental health of a lowest-ranking staff member? But his breathtaking sincerity goes so much deeper than just comforting words. It is deeply woven into his legendary, wildly unpredictable acts of extravagant generosity that are completely driven by his intense, highly observant empathy. Taehyung is famous for his silent listening superpower. He will quietly sit in the chaotic hair and makeup chairs, entirely closing his eyes and appearing to be asleep. But he is actually intensely listening to the casual, passing conversations of the exhausted stylists and wardrobe assistants. If a makeup artist casually sighs and mentions that her old, battered sneakers are severely hurting her feet after standing for 14 hours straight, Taehyung won't say a single word, but days later, that exact makeup artist will arrive at the dressing room to find a brand new, highly expensive, custom-fitted pair of designer shoes waiting silently at her station, completely paid for out of his own massive personal bank account, without a single PR camera in sight. Furthermore, his deeply emotional connection to the massive, imposing security teams and personal managers is absolutely legendary in the global music industry. While most arrogant divas treat their bodyguards as disposable, robotic meat shields, constantly barking orders at them, Taehyung physically and emotionally clings to his managers, holding their hands in terrifyingly chaotic, violently crowded airports, resting his chin on their broad shoulders when he is completely exhausted, and treating them like his desperately cherished older brothers. During the grueling, physically draining international shoots for reality shows like Ginny's Kitchen in sweltering, unforgiving Mexican heat, he was constantly spotted completely ignoring his own extreme fatigue, actively running around off-camera to personally hand out ice-cold water bottles to the local Mexican security guards, and translating crew, bowing deeply and thanking them in their native language, proving that his fiercely beautiful humanity transcends absolutely all cultural, linguistic, and geographical barriers. To realize that a man who literally has the entire planet bowing at his feet desperately refuses to be treated like an untouchable god, and instead chooses to forcefully drag himself down to the ground just to wipe the sweat off his crew's foreheads, is a reality check so profoundly beautiful, it will literally make you violently sob. He does not just give them his massive wealth, he gives them his raw, unguarded, fiercely sensitive soul, constantly ensuring that the brutal, soul-crushing machinery of the entertainment world never, ever strips away the humanity and dignity of the people he loves. If your heart is completely shattered and you are desperately fighting back hot tears right now over this unbelievable display of pure, angelic empathy, you absolutely need to brace yourself for the final, earth-shattering conclusion of this entire list. Because if number 2 was this incredibly intense and emotionally devastating, what kind of unimaginable, mind-blowing secret is waiting to completely destroy your expectations at number 1? Number 1. Jungkook, the golden maknae who bows to the ground. Absolutely unbelievable. When the name Jeon Jungkook, globally worshipped as the invincible golden maknae, and the history-making solo megastar behind absolute record-breaking anthems, is finally spoken, you immediately picture an absolute powerhouse of pure, unadulterated talent, a young prodigy who conquered the entire world before he even hit his mid-20s. But what happens when the blinding stadium lights shut off and the roaring crowd of millions finally goes home? Let us take a deep, profoundly emotional dive into the raw, untelevised reality of a man who sits at the absolute, untouchable pinnacle of global fame, yet still firmly believes in his heart that he is just a humble kid from Busan who owes his entire existence to the exhausted crew standing behind the cameras. In the brutally hierarchical, fiercely competitive reality of the South Korean entertainment industry, where massive egos run wild and junior staff are often treated as invisible background noise, Jungkook completely shatters every single superstar stereotype with a breathtaking display of raw, unfiltered empathy that leaves veteran directors violently sobbing. Let us take you back to the legendary, heavily documented moments at the Idol Star Athletics Championships, a notoriously grueling event where hundreds of K-pop idols gather, often leaving the massive stadium looking like an absolute trash-filled disaster zone. While 99% of the exhausted celebrities immediately rush back to their luxury VIP vans, the absolute second the cameras stop rolling, Jungkook was famously caught by stunned fans and deeply moved industry insiders doing the unthinkable. He was physically walking around the dirty stadium floor, picking up discarded water bottles, dirty snack wrappers, and heavy trash left behind by other idol groups, meticulously helping the severely overworked, elderly cleaning staff who were practically in tears over his genuine, selfless assistance. But his mind-boggling sincerity does not just stop at cleaning up trash. It gets insanely more emotional when you realize that this global icon, who literally generates billions of dollars for the economy, intimately understands that he practically grew up in the recording studios and broadcast stations. Because he debuted at such a young, incredibly vulnerable age, he doesn't just see the managers, makeup artists, and camera operators as basic corporate employees. He genuinely views them as the literal surrogate parents and older siblings who physically raised him, fed him, and fiercely protected him when he was miles away from his own biological family. There are countless, deeply moving testimonies from battle-hardened camera directors and giant stagehands who have emotionally confessed on Korean forums that during massively chaotic, high-budget music video shoots, Jungkook completely refuses to sit in his luxurious, air-conditioned dressing room while others suffer. Instead, he actively runs around the dangerous, wire-filled set, using his insanely athletic physique to help the exhausted crew members carry heavy stage props, violently heavy camera equipment, and massive lighting fixtures, casually rolling up dirty, thick electrical cables with a massive, radiant smile on his face, as if he is just a regular minimum-wage production assistant and not the biggest pop star on the entire planet. Imagine the absolute shock of a severely dehydrated, terrified rookie staff member desperately trying to move a heavy box, only to have the billionaire lead singer of BTS quietly jog over, effortlessly lift the box for them, and give them a warm, encouraging pat on the back before jogging away without demanding a single ounce of praise. His legendary, deeply ingrained habit of giving perfect, 90-degree bows to every single person he locks eyes with, from the highest-ranking executive producers to the youngest, most nervous intern, nervously holding a boom mic is so incredibly famous in the industry that paparazzi actively try to catch him slipping up, but they literally never can. Because his breathtaking humility is absolutely not a fake, highly manufactured PR stunt. It is the raw, unshakable core of his beautiful, fiercely loyal soul. He constantly uses his massive wealth to secretly buy incredibly expensive, premium food trucks and massive catering spreads for the entire production crew, actively ensuring that the lowest-ranking workers get to eat the exact same high-end, luxurious meals as the superstar standing in front of the lens. To deeply realize that a man who literally holds the entire music industry in the palm of his beautifully tattooed hands, a man who broke historical global records and performed solo at the World Cup, actively chooses to lower his head to the floor and physically sweat alongside the invisible, blue-collar workers of the production crew is a reality check so profoundly beautiful and devastatingly pure that it will literally force you to violently sob. He is the ultimate mind-blowing proof that you can reach the absolute highest, most terrifying peaks of global power and unimaginable wealth, yet still remain incredibly grounded, fiercely empathetic, and eternally grateful to the unseen heroes who built the stage you stand on. This unbelievable, tear-jerking level of pure humanity is exactly why the staff members absolutely worship the ground he walks on, completely solidifying his legendary status, not just as the ultimate golden maknae of K-pop, but as an absolute, real-life angel who beautifully treats his crew like his own flesh and blood, bringing this insanely emotional, mind-blowing countdown to the most perfect, awe-inspiring close imaginable.